What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch back here with another week of fantasy football stardom and situm. This time for week number 7 of the 2019 NFL season. Before I get into my starts for the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end positions, make sure that you Gronk spike the like button, subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more fantasy football content just like this. I also do a lot of NFL analysis, NFL picks, everything NFL on the Bottom Line View. Also, comment below your questions that you have for me. Who should you start in your lineup? Who should you sit in your lineup? Any trade questions that you potentially have, leave them in the comment section below. Let's dive right in with the quarterback starts. First, Kyler Murray, who is playing like a machine versus the New York Giants. The Giants allow the 5th most points to the quarterback position so far this season, the 2nd most passing yards, and the 2nd most rushing touchdowns to quarterbacks, which means that Kyler Murray should both be able to throw the ball and run the ball in this game. Jared Goff versus the Atlanta Falcons, which I would say is probably the worst defense in football right now. Goff should have a bounce back performance here. I know he played poorly versus San Francisco, but this is completely different. Atlanta is the 3rd worst team versus quarterbacks this season. They are allowing 331 yards over the last 3 games. Since losing Keanu Neal, this defense has been horrible. Josh Allen versus Miami. Miami is bad. Josh Allen is coming off a bye, and this starts a really nice schedule for Josh Allen. I hope you have him on your fantasy team. Miami is 32nd in yards, 32nd in points, and 26th versus the pass. They also allow the 2nd most points to quarterbacks this season. Gardner Minshew versus Cincinnati. He's back in the start section. The Bengals are without their 3 top corners this week. Jackson, Kirkpatrick, Denard, they're all out. Start Minshew. Brissett versus Houston. I expect Frank Reich to have him prepared after the bye week going into a game versus the Texans where they're not so good versus the pass. Good versus the run, bad versus the pass. 24th versus the pass. And T.Y. Hilton also owns this football team. Quarterback sits. Darnold versus New England. The Patriots have a touchdown to interception ratio this season of 1 touchdown to 14 interceptions. Don't start Darnold. Cousins versus Detroit. The Lions have allowed just 6 touchdowns this year to quarterbacks. Slay is also back. We saw him versus Green Bay. Detroit has a good secondary. A lot better than the Eagles, a lot better than the Giants, which Cousins had success against. You look at Phillip Rivers versus the Titans. The Titans have allowed 8 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. They ranked 8th versus quarterbacks so far this season. They have a very good secondary. They can match up with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and the weapons that the Chargers do have at their disposal there. So I believe that the Titans secondary will clamp down on the passing game of the Chargers. I don't love Rivers this week. Even in a comeback effort, this game should be pretty close. Bridgewater versus the Chicago Bears. The Bears have allowed under a touchdown per game through the air, so I'm passing on Bridgewater this week. Carr versus Green Bay. The Packers have more interceptions defensively than they have allowed touchdowns through the air. Also, Tyrell Williams is out of this game, or at least he is doubtful, so I would sit Derek Carr. Running back starts. Singletary versus Miami. 30.4 points per game to the running back position so far. 235 yards per game on the road, on the ground. Singletary's a great start. A lot of people, you could even pick him up in a lot of your leagues. James White versus the Jets. I also like Sony Michel somewhat, but James White, he didn't play the Jets the first time around. Traditionally plays very, very well versus the Jets, and you have to figure without Josh Gordon, most likely, James White will be the number 2 option in the passing game. Henry versus the Chargers. The Chargers, they're not very good versus the run. They're very small up front. The Titans, they will want to pound the ball to win this game. New quarterback that I think will give them a little bit of spark offensively. The Chargers have allowed 4 top 10 running backs so far this season. Tevin Coleman and Matt Breida versus Washington. The Redskins allow the 5th most points per game to the running back position. Plus, the 49ers will probably be winning by a lot in this game, which means they'll be pounding the rock. Coleman, I like even a little bit more than Breida because he is the goal line back. Running back sits. Peterson versus San Francisco. San Francisco is the second in fantasy points allowed per game. That means second best in terms of the second best defense versus running backs. And they're also allowing the third least yards on the ground. So Peterson might have had a good game last week, but I don't expect that to carry over versus the 49ers. Montgomery versus New Orleans. New Orleans' defensive line's a lot better than you think. 78 yards per game to running backs this season. This should be a low-scoring game. I don't expect a touchdown from Montgomery in this one. Mixon versus the Jags. The Jags' defensive line, I just think straight up will dominate this offensive line of the Bengals. Bengals' offensive line, very weak, very beat up. I don't expect Mixon, again, who struggled versus Baltimore, to have a good game versus Jacksonville. Gordon versus the Titans. The Titans, they're seventh best versus running backs this season. The Chargers, they're struggling to run the ball with all the injuries they do have up front, including losing Pouncey, their big-time center. Wide receiver starts. Chark versus the Bengals. I brought it up with Minshew. I like Chark as well. The corners, they're all hurt. Chark's only struggled versus elite corners. He struggled versus Lattimore. He struggled versus Chris Harris. Other than that, he's had good games, so start him. Gallup versus Philadelphia. Eagles are the worst team versus wide receivers this season. They're beat up at that position, and especially if Amari Cooper isn't going to play, Gallup becomes even more of an upgrade for Dak. Cooks versus Atlanta. Atlanta has allowed the second most points to the wide receiver position. They also give up a lot of big plays, which really fits into Brandon Cook's wheelhouse. John Brown versus Miami. Speaking of giving up big plays, Terry McLaurin had a huge week versus Miami last week. John Brown, same type of receiver, down the field type of target. Josh Allen should be able to hit him for a big play in this game. Miami is not very good versus receivers. They're not very good versus anything, honestly. Dorsett versus the Jets. I brought it up with James White, but if Gordon is out, that means that there's a spot open at number 2 wide receiver. Dorsett will probably fill that role. He also did have a good game versus the Jets the first time around as the number 3 receiver with a touchdown, 6 receptions. So I would start Dorsett as a sneaky start if you need a replacement this week and or if you have Josh Gordon on your team. Wide receiver sits. Allen Robinson versus New Orleans. Lattimore has been fantastic versus elite receivers. 91 yards given up in 3 games versus 3 elite receivers. So I would not start Allen Robinson this week in a low-scoring game. Again, versus New Orleans. Anderson versus New England. Stephon Gilmore. That's it. McLaurin versus the San Francisco 49ers. Niners had only allowed 5 catches per game to outside wide receivers, which McLaurin is. 49ers are great, and they're going to get a lot of pressure after Keenum. Valdez-Scantling versus Oakland. I just don't like what I've seen from Valdez-Scantling. I don't like what I've seen from the chemistry between him and Aaron Rodgers, so I would sit Valdez-Scantling. Tight ends, Henry, start him. He's good, and you need tight ends. And the league and fantasy needs tight ends. So Henry played well last week. I expected that to continue versus the Titans, who are good versus receivers, but not so much versus tight ends. Akins and Fells versus Indy. Indy is the 3rd worst team versus tight ends. I expect one of these guys to have a good game, so it's not bad to have one of them as your streamer. Knox versus Miami. Why not? The Bills are 17-point favorites in this game. Miami is one of the bottom 10 teams versus the tight end, and Knox has had an interesting role as of late in this offense. Plus, they traded Zay Jones, so his target should go up. Hawkinson versus Minnesota. Hawkinson should have had a touchdown versus Green Bay. Minnesota has allowed the 3rd most catches to this position, so Hawkinson could be in for a pretty good game. Those are my starts. Those are my sits for the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end position. If you enjoyed, Gronk spike the like button. Subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more, and I'll see you next time. Peace.